Morning, guys. It's Wednesday, November 12th, 5:25 a.m. Central Time. Grain markets are mixed this morning. Soybeans a little bit higher. December corn futures up 1/4 cent at 4.32 1/4. January soybeans up 4 3/4 at 11.32. December Chicago wheat down 3.5 cents at 5.32 1/2. December Kansas City wheat down 4.5 at 5.19 1/4. December spring wheat is down 3/4 cent at 5.68 3/4. We've got some Brazil China news to start off this morning.
Chinese state-owned COFCO has signed an agreement to purchase 20 million metric tons of Brazilian soybeans, soybean oil, palm oil, and other agricultural products. The deal, valued at more than $10 billion, includes contracts with major global traders such as ADM, Bunge, Cargill, and Louis Dreyfus. Despite the recently negotiated U.S.-China trade truce, China has yet to make significant purchases of U.S. beans. While Beijing has eased some tariffs on certain U.S. agricultural goods, a 13% tariff on soybeans remains in place.
COFCO is, I believe, China's largest state-owned agribusiness. It would be as if the U.S. government owned Cargill or ADM. It's kind of like that. I think that this is business that would have happened regardless of whether or not this deal was signed. And as we've seen recently, when China signs deals, it's not really a guarantee of anything. Now, Brooke Rollins was on this very show a couple weeks ago and told us that the 12 million metric tons of soybeans that China agreed to supposedly was a floor and not a ceiling, and that it was like damn near a guarantee, right? Mm-hmm. And the longer that time goes on, we're on the clock, tick tock, right? January 1st is quickly approaching. The longer time goes on, the less likely it is that China actually does buy 12 million metric tons of U.S. soybeans. Now, the government's closed, so we don't know what they've bought or if they've bought anything. We are of the opinion, or I'm of the opinion, based on what I know, that China bought some U.S. soybeans, but probably not anything close to 12 million metric tons. So this story, COFCO signing deals with Brazil, it's not a surprise, and it's probably business that would have happened anyways. But it may not bode well for this truce agreement that the White House claims that has happened and that China has not really confirmed.
As part of its concessions in U.S. trade negotiations, Thailand will increase its annual quota for feed corn imports to 1 million metric tons, up from 54,700 metric tons currently. The existing 20% in-quota tariff will also be removed. To protect domestic farmers, U.S. corn imports will only be allowed between February 1st and June 30th, avoiding overlap with Thailand's corn harvest. The country's total feed demand is projected to reach 21.8 million metric tons this year, with about 60% of its feed ingredients, mainly corn, soybean meal, and wheat, sourced from imports.
Now, I'm not available for government work, but the government, U.S. government, needs somebody who understands the ebbs and flows of grain and oilseed demand and usage to work on these trade deals, because Thailand is not a top 10 corn consumer. You're talking 7.4 million metric tons per year domestic corn consumption, and they import basically none of it. I mean, less than 2 million metric tons. What Thailand actually uses for feed is soybean meal for the most part. And guess what? We're swimming in soybean meal here in the U.S. I know the market's rallied, but because we've increased this domestic crush program, we're going to need to export a lot of meal. And that's the market that our trade representatives should probably be targeting more so than corn, because that 1 million metric tons, whatever they're talking, that's not a needle mover for us. But the glut of meal is something that is almost certainly going to happen. And that's the direction I think we should be going.
The U.S. government shutdown could end as soon as today. The Senate approved a temporary funding bill on Monday, and the House of Representatives will vote on that today. The measure will fund most federal agencies through the end of January, with others, including the USDA, funded through September 30th. It would also pay all federal workers who went without during the shutdown and prevent federal layoffs through the end of January. Although the shutdown's end is in sight, it may take weeks for federal operations, air travel, and food assistance programs to return to normal.
I know a lot of you guys are not big fans of USDA reports, but as far as grain traders are concerned, there are two things that they are very interested in my opinion. The first one would be CFTC commitment of traders reports. We haven't seen an updated commitment of traders report during the shutdown. We want to know, where do the funds stand in these markets? The private groups publish estimates, but they're just estimates. And the longer they go without hard data from CFTC rather, the worse their estimates are going to be. So they've gone a month now. The estimates are probably pretty bad relative to reality. The second thing we want to see is export sales reports. I want to know if China has bought anything. We know that we haven't shipped anything to China because USDA is still putting out weekly export inspections reports. We haven't shipped anything to China. That doesn't mean that they haven't bought anything, though. And I'm, again, of the opinion that they probably bought some soybean cargoes. They probably bought some wheat cargoes. I don't think it's been a ton, but we want to know the details of all of that. And when and if the government reopens, those are going to be the first things that I'm going to want to see, our export sales and the CFTC report. We do have a USDA report on Friday. We're going to talk about it in a second. That report is coming out regardless of whether or not the government opens up again.
If you guys have not checked out our premium content, you sure need to do so. Joe, can you tell our viewers about some of our recent premium videos?
Regular contributor Louis Stearns was on yesterday. He's an agronomist out of Ohio, but covers most of the Corn Belt. He did a post-harvest agronomy and crop update. We talked about some of the disease issues, some of what maybe the practices are going to be moving forward, how he's preparing for 2026. And he gave us his general thoughts on the size of the crop as somebody who travels all over the Corn Belt, just in general and as it relates to last year. Dave Whitcomb from Peak Trading was on earlier this week at the Money Flow Super Bowl. If you don't understand the index fund rebalance that is forthcoming, you should understand it. These index funds are going to buy tens of thousands of contracts in some markets and sell tens of thousands of contracts in other commodity markets. And we actually know, we know which markets are going to be bought and which are going to be sold and when it's going to happen. And this is something that especially you guys in like the commercial or maybe speculative space should be aware of. But I think for farmers, it's good too. And we kind of talked about what this impact could be for farmers sitting on, corn or soybean bushels. If you guys want to see the premium stuff, go to standardgrain.com. You can sign up this morning. This is a $50 per month subscription. You can cancel at any time. There's no other fee. There's no other obligation. Nobody will try to sell you anything else. It takes about 30 seconds to sign up on your phone with your credit card. You can do Google Pay, Cash App, Apple Pay. We do all that stuff. The emails go straight to your phone or computer. It's just one click to play all the videos. No messy login instructions, nothing like that. We don't want to sell you anything else. We'll never call you. We don't want to do your brokerage business or crop insurance or anything like that. We just want to send you our content, which we work hard on. We do a ton of it. And that's it. So give that deal a shot this morning, guys.
USDA will release its monthly crop production and WASDE report on Friday. Traders expect the USDA to make a significant downward revision to its estimate for this season's national corn yield and overall production. Soybean yield and production are also expected to decline, but only modestly. U.S. ending stocks for corn, soybeans, and wheat are projected to rise slightly, with few changes anticipated in global ending stocks. Due to the government shutdown, the USDA did not release monthly crop reports back in October.
The U.S. Corn and soybean yield numbers or production numbers are the big ticket items here. Those are the things the traders are going to look at first. Reductions are expected. The corn yield is estimated based on a Reuters poll of analysts at 184, which would be down sharply from 186.7, which was the September number, I believe. So that would still be your record yield and by 5 bushels or so, and still a monster crop. If you're talking 16.6 billion bushels, that's 1.3 billion bushels larger than the previous record, which was 15.3 in 2023. So this corn crop is a record no matter how you slice it. It's just a question of by how much at this point. I know plenty of smart people who think that the national corn yield is no better than it was last year. And last year was 179.3. So could the 184 be too high? I don't know. Pete Meyer was on with us last week and talked about this report in detail and how the data collection process was, let's call it messy. And that's a video that's absolutely worth watching because Pete has a probably better understanding of how NAS works than anybody out there. And he explained it to our premium subscribers last week. That's something you should check out. There could be changes anywhere. We haven't seen a report in a couple months. So, I mean, demand estimates, overseas production estimates, everything's on the table. But I think the first thing most people are going to look at, first thing I'm going to look at is corn and soybean yield numbers for sure.
Grain futures were mixed on Tuesday. Corn and Chicago wheat posted modest gains, while soybeans traded slightly lower. Traders continue to assess the potential reopening of the U.S. government, which could resume operations as early as today. However, as we've talked, it will likely take several weeks for regular USDA reporting to return to normal. Meanwhile, despite the new U.S.-China trade truce, under which China did agree to purchase 12 million metric tons of U.S. beans by January. There has been no indication of any recent buying activity. China appears to have little incentive to fulfill that commitment, let alone meet the larger goal of 25 million metric tons annually over the next 3 years.
I promised you guys some charts. Here we go. Let's start with spring wheat, which we don't discuss very often, but it has finally caught a bid here the last couple of days. I would love to see this December contract close above 578. Spring wheat's acted much poorer than the winter wheat contracts. SRW, HRW futures have acted much better, and spring wheat finally starting to catch up, and I hope we can see some more buying there. It's been awfully bad for a long time. Here's soybeans, and this is what I talked about earlier. The market is holding together very, very well, despite the I'm not going to say fact, idea that China has not really been buying U.S. soybeans. Maybe they bought some, but certainly not 12 million metric tons. So is this just a momentum trade for the funds? Are they buying beans and long beans because we broke out and the technicals look good, or does somebody know something about forthcoming Chinese demand or something that's happening behind closed doors? I don't know. Here's a corn chart. 437 is very obviously your key level. We've gone up into the mid 430s a handful of times, and we have not been able to break out above that. You close above 437 and you've got a chance at some more upside, certainly. What did cattle do yesterday?
Cattle futures were mostly lower. Live cattle traded 60 cents to 227 lower. Feeders were mostly steady, ranging from 7 cents lower to 415 higher, with the majority of contracts showing little change. Box beef prices were higher. Choice was up $1.90 at 379.22, and Select was up 38 cents at 360.08.
S&P 500 futures up 19 points this morning. The Dow's up 60 points. Treasury's off just a little bit. U.S. dollars up a little bit. Crude oil is down 62 cents in the December WTI at 60.42. Have a great day, guys. We'll be back on Thursday.